The case of the missing painting. It all began on a quiet Tuesday morning in a little town called Greenridge, where nothing much ever happened. The famous painting, The Blue Butterfly, was stolen from the local museum. Everyone in town was shocked, and the police were baffled. This is the story of how a clever young detective, Max, solved the mystery. Chapter 1. The Discovery. Max had just started his new job as a detective. He was eager to prove himself, and little did he know that his first case would come sooner than expected. Max was called to an art gallery where a valuable painting had been stolen the night before. The painting, known as the Blue Butterfly, was the gallery's most prized possession. Max began by analyzing the clues at the scene where the painting was stolen. The first thing he noticed was a tiny, almost invisible smudge of paint on the windowsill. It was fresh, suggesting that the thief might have touched the painting during the heist. This clue led Max to believe that the thief wasn't just after the painting itself, but something hidden within it. Chapter 2. The Hidden Secret. Max interviewed the museum curator, Mr. Johnson, a middle-aged man with graying hair and round glasses, dressed in a tidy suit with a bow tie. The man looked a bit nervous or anxious. His expression was serious, reflecting his concern for the museum's reputation. Max learned that the painting had been restored recently. "Good afternoon. I'm investigating a particular painting that was recently displayed here. I understand it was restored not too long ago." "Yes, that's correct. The restoration was completed just a few months ago. The piece needed quite a bit of work to bring it back to its original state." "Interesting. During the restoration, did you or the restorers notice anything unusual about the painting? Any hidden details or secrets that might have come to light?" "Now that you mention it, there was something curious. During the cleaning process, the restorer uncovered some faint markings beneath the layers of paint. They appeared to be some kind of symbols or perhaps a part of an old map. It was quite faint, almost like a ghost image hidden in the background." "A map, you say? That's fascinating. Do you think these markings could be linked to any particular historical context or perhaps a hidden treasure?" "There's an old rumor associated with that painting. Some believe it conceals a map, possibly leading to a hidden treasure or an ancient secret. Of course, it's just a rumor, but it has intrigued art historians and treasure hunters alike for years. That would certainly explain why someone might be very interested in the painting. Do you have any records or further details about this rumor or the symbols themselves?" "We have some notes in the gallery's archives. They describe the symbols in more detail, though their meaning has never been fully deciphered. If you'd like, I can show you the files. That would be incredibly helpful. Thank you. This could be the lead I've been looking for." Max's curiosity was piqued. Why would someone steal the painting? Could it be for the rumored map? This conversation builds suspense and hints at a deeper mystery surrounding the painting, setting the stage for further investigation. Max decided to dig deeper into the history of the painting. He found out that the painting's previous owner, a wealthy collector, had gone bankrupt shortly after buying it. This made Max suspect that the painting might have a connection to something valuable, possibly a treasure. Chapter 3. A shady art dealer, Max, decided to investigate the art dealer who sold the painting to the gallery. The dealer was acting oddly and seemed nervous when Max questioned him. Max followed the dealer and saw him meet with a mysterious man in a dark alley. They exchanged what looked like a blueprint. Max knew he was onto something. He realized that the painting must contain a hidden map, and that's why it was stolen. But where did this map lead, and why was it so valuable? Chapter 4. Setting the Trap. The discovery of the hidden sketch beneath the painting's top layer was a breakthrough, but he knew it made the painting even more valuable and dangerous. Whoever was after the painting now had a clear motive: the map. Max had to act quickly to outsmart the thief. He studied the restoration records meticulously, noting the details of the sketch. It appeared to be an old, hand-drawn map of an unknown location, filled with cryptic symbols and faint markings. Max's curiosity grew, but he pushed it aside. He had a job to do first, catching the thief. Max decided to set a trap. He worked with the gallery owner to arrange a fake return of the painting. The gallery announced that the painting would be displayed for one last night before being sent back to the museum. Max knew that this announcement would lure the thief back, especially now that they were aware of the map's existence. As the night approached, Max coordinated with the police, setting up surveillance throughout the gallery. Hidden cameras were placed in strategic locations, and officers were positioned at every exit. Max himself took up a hidden vantage point, his heart racing with anticipation. Hours passed, and the gallery was eerily quiet, the only sound being the occasional rustle of fabric as an officer shifted position. Then, just after midnight, Max noticed a shadow slipping through the gallery's back entrance. It was the mysterious man from the alley. He moved with precision, avoiding the security measures with a practiced ease, but Max was ready. The thief made his way to the painting, reaching into his coat to pull out a small, sharp tool. As he began to carefully remove the painting from the frame, Max signaled the police. But just as they were about to move in, the thief did something unexpected. He flipped the painting over and began to cut away at the back, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside there was a small, ancient-looking key, wrapped in a piece of old, brittle parchment. Max's eyes widened. The map was not just a guide, it was a puzzle, and this key was part of the solution. The thief, realizing he was running out of time, stuffed the key and parchment into his coat and turned to flee. Max and the police sprang into action. A chase ensued through the darkened gallery, with the thief darting through the exhibits, trying to lose his pursuers. But Max was relentless, his focus sharp as he pursued the man through the maze of artwork. Finally, the thief was cornered near the gallery's main entrance. With nowhere left to run, he attempted to fight his way out, but the police quickly overpowered him. As they cuffed the man, Max retrieved the stolen items from his coat, carefully unwrapping the parchment.
The case of the Hidden Relic. In his first case, a young detective named Max embarks on his first major investigation after a valuable painting, the Blue Butterfly, is stolen from a local art gallery. As Max digs deeper, he uncovers that the painting hides a secret, an ancient map leading to a long-lost treasure. The story follows Max as he deciphers clues, faces dangerous criminals, and ultimately sets a trap to catch the thief. In the end, Max retrieves not just the painting but also uncovers a much larger mystery connected to a hidden treasure, setting the stage for future adventures. Chapter 1: A New Lead ****. Max sat in his dimly lit office, staring at the ancient key and the cryptic letter laid out before him. The excitement of the chase still thrummed in his veins, but he knew this was far from over. The recent case of the stolen painting had led him to something far more significant, the hidden treasure of immense historical value. But Max also knew he couldn't solve this mystery alone. He picked up the phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in years. "Elena? It's Maximum. I've got something that might interest you." Chapter 2: An Old Friend Returns. Dr. Elena Martinez was a renowned historian, specializing in ancient languages and artifacts. With a PhD in archaeology from Oxford, she had spent years traveling the world, uncovering secrets buried for centuries. Her expertise was unmatched, and her fiery passion for history made her a formidable ally. Elena was in her mid-30s, with sharp features softened by her warm, olive complexion. Her dark, wavy hair was often tied back in a loose bun, and her keen brown eyes missed nothing. She was dressed in her usual attire, a casual, yet professional look of a white blouse, jeans, and her signature brown leather jacket, worn from years of field work. She had once worked closely with Max on a case involving stolen artifacts, and their collaboration had been both intense and successful. However, their paths had diverged after that, with Elena returning to academia and Max diving deeper into detective work. When she walked into Max's office, her eyes immediately fell on the letter and key. "So, what have you got this time?" she asked, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Max handed her the letter. This was hidden in the back of the stolen painting. "I've got a feeling it leads to something big, something historic." Elena's eyes widened as she scanned the letter. This is written in a code that dates back to the 16th century. It's a treasure map, maximum. But not just any treasure, this could be connected to a long-lost collection of artifacts that disappeared centuries ago. Max leaned back in his chair. "Can you decode it?" "With some time, yes. But we need to be careful. If the thief was after this map, we're not the only ones looking for this treasure." Chapter 3, The Decoding Begins. Elena spent the next few days poring over the letter, deciphering the old code. Meanwhile, Max began investigating the painting's history and the people who had owned it. He discovered that the painting had once belonged to a wealthy collector who had mysteriously gone bankrupt shortly after acquiring it. As Elena worked through the code, she uncovered a series of locations, each one holding a clue that would lead them to the next. The map pointed to an old mansion on the outskirts of town, a forgotten place that had once been the home of the collector. "This mansion," Elena said, pointing to a spot on the map, "is where we'll find the first clue." Chapter 4, The Mansion's Secret. The mansion was a crumbling relic of a bygone era, surrounded by overgrown gardens and shrouded in an eerie silence. Max and Elena explored the dusty halls, guided by the map. In the library, they found a hidden compartment behind a bookshelf. Inside was an old journal, detailing the collector's obsession with the treasure. The journal hinted at a second clue, hidden in a nearby cathedral. But they weren't alone. As they left the mansion, they noticed they were being followed. Max discreetly noted the license plate of the car trailing them. "We've got company," he whispered to Elena. Chapter 5, The Final Clue. The next morning, Max and Elena arrived at the cathedral. The ancient structure was filled with shadows, and the sound of their footsteps echoed through the empty halls. In a hidden alcove, they found an old stone tablet, inscribed with more of the code. Elena translated it, revealing the location of the final clue, a small, isolated island off the coast. Max and Elena set off for the island. The journey was treacherous, with stormy seas and rugged terrain. But once they arrived, they quickly found the entrance to a hidden cave, marked by the symbols from the map. Max and Elena stood in the dimly lit cave, surrounded by ancient relics and glistening treasures. The treasure they had spent days searching for was finally within their grasp. Elena ran her fingers over the old coins, each one more intricately designed than the last, while Max carefully examined a rusted chest containing old documents. "Can you believe it?" Elena whispered, her voice filled with awe. "This could rewrite history." Max nodded, though his gut told him something was wrong. His instincts, honed from years of detective work, kicked in as he turned toward the entrance. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end. Just as he opened his mouth to warn Elena, the sound of footsteps echoed through the cave. Max's eyes widened as he saw three shadowy figures approaching swiftly from the entrance. "It's them," Max whispered sharply. "The criminals. They must have followed us." Antonio the Fox Serrano led the way, his sharp eyes gleaming with triumph. Behind him loomed Miguel the Hammer Alvarez, cracking his knuckles menacingly, while Raul the Shadow Morales lingered in the background, silent and calculating. Well, Antonio sneered, stepping forward with a mocking smile. "Looks like you did all the hard work for us, Maximum. Now, step aside and hand over the treasure." Max positioned himself between Elena and the advancing criminals. "You'll have to go through me first." Miguel smirked and started forward, his large frame casting an intimidating shadow. "That's exactly what we planned." Before he could make a move, Max reached into his pocket and tossed a small flashlight toward the cave's roof. As the light hit the uneven surface, it cast a blinding glare into Miguel's eyes, causing him to stumble. Seizing the moment, Max grabbed Elena's arm and pulled her behind a stack of old crates for cover. Shots rang out as Raoul fired a warning shot toward them, his aim precise. "You can't hide forever, Max. We'll take what's ours." Max ducked low, formulating a plan in the heat of the moment. The cave was full of narrow passageways and hidden alcoves, giving them a chance to outmaneuver the criminals. He signaled to Elena, and they silently moved through the maze of ancient artifacts, keeping low and out of sight. Meanwhile, Antonio was growing impatient. "Enough games," he growled at Raoul. "Get them, or the treasure's gone." Raoul stalked forward, but Elena, quick thinking as ever, knocked over a heavy chest of old coins, sending it crashing to the ground. The loud clatter echoed through the cave, distracting Raoul and Miguel long enough for Max to double back toward the entrance. "You always were good at running," Miguel taunted as he blocked the way out. Max squared his shoulders, his breath steady. "Who said anything about running?" With a sudden, powerful swing, Max grabbed an old iron rod from a nearby shelf and struck Miguel in the legs, knocking him off balance. Miguel grunted, stumbling backward into a pile of crates. Taking advantage of the moment, Max bolted toward Raoul, grappling with the gun. The two struggled in a fierce, tense fight, each trying to gain control of the weapon. Antonio, meanwhile, spotted Elena trying to get to the treasure chest. "Oh no, you don't," he hissed, darting toward her. But Elena, quicker and more agile, kicked a small pile of relics toward his feet, tripping him. Finally, the sound of sirens echoed faintly outside the cave, growing louder by the second. The police were closing in. "We're out of time." Raoul snarled, realizing the trap Max had set for them. He shoved Max away and dashed toward the exit, but it was too late. The police burst into the cave just as Raoul, Antonio, and Miguel made a desperate attempt to escape. Officers swiftly subdued them, handcuffing the criminals as they struggled. Max wiped the sweat from his brow and stood tall, watching as the criminals were led away. Antonio shot Max a venomous glare, his eyes filled with fury. "This isn't over, detective. You'll regret this." Max simply smirked. "We'll see about that." Chapter 6: Return to the Museum. Max and Elena returned the treasure to the museum, where it was displayed for the public to appreciate. The story of their adventure made headlines, and they were hailed as heroes. But as they stood in the museum, admiring the artifacts, Max couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. "I've got a feeling we haven't seen the last of those criminals," Max said. Elena nodded. "They'll want revenge. And they know where to find us." Max smiled. "Good. Let them come. We'll be ready."